How would you like a 15% discount to my daily email, the stack of stuff, the show notes, discounts to the conference, all of that? All you need to do is text the word show to 33777. You'll get the annual subscription with a 15% discount to my daily email. You'll get the stack of stuff, the links to the show notes, discounts to the conference, and so much more. All you have to do is text the word show, SHOW, to 33777. Text show to 33777.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show podcast, Hour 3.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome. It is Eric Erickson. If you are in Georgia, remember the communists are trying to take over your power grid. I don't actually say that lightly, and I'm not trying to be flippant. There's an election for the Public Service Commission, and two super far left people are trying to beat the incumbents. You need to go vote for the incumbents in Georgia. The election is happening. Early voting is happening. You got to stop the communist takeover of our power grid. Please. Now, for the rest of you nationwide, we got other stuff to get to. The phone number is 877-973-7425. I got to talk about the ranchers and the cowboys against the president, and I got to go into a little more detail than I did in my morning email. But so let me just talk to you very, very basically here. No, I'm not an economist, but I know basic economics. I've read Hayek, I've read Milton Friedman, I've taken macroeconomics, I've taken microeconomics. This is Economics 101. When your competitor raises his prices, you can raise your price too. And so long as you don't raise your price as much as your competitor has raised his price, you might be able to increase your sales and steal some of his. Economics 201 is this. When your competitors are impacted by tariffs, the costs to sell their goods goes up. So you can raise your costs as well. And so long as your costs are less than the costs of the tariffed goods, you're going to make more money and increase your sales because the tariffed party can't outcompete you. That's the reality of tariffs, and we're seeing this. American aluminum prices are going up, not just because of a fire in an aluminum plant, but even before the fire. Because of the tariff on aluminums, American aluminum manufacturers were raising their prices. Steel manufacturers raising their prices. American lumber companies are raising their prices. And it has everything to do with the fact that they are not impacted by the tariff. So they can raise their prices to maximize their profit because they're raising their prices and still keeping it under the cost of the tariff. So they're getting business. Unfortunately, our president and his economics team have decided to operate not under Economics 101, but under Politburo Central Planning Committee. This is the president's tweet from yesterday at 12:42 p.m. The cattle ranchers, who I love, don't understand that the only reason they are doing so well for the first time in decades is because I put tariffs on cattle coming into the United States, including a 50% tariff on Brazil. If it weren't for me, they would be doing just as they've done for the last 20 years. Terrible. It would be nice if they would understand that, but they also have to get their prices down because the consumer is a very big factor in my thinking also. See, beef prices have gone up, and the president's blaming the ranchers. Politburo Central Planning Committee 101 is that the Central Planning Committee of the Politburo knows better than the people operating the business what to do. The president is operating as the commissar-in-chief here, telling the cattle ranchers, bring your prices down or I'm going to import beef from Argentina to compete against you. The ranchers and cattlemen of America are unhappy. I have a lot of them listening out in Dodge City, Kansas, and in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and in Oklahoma City. My wife wants to actually go out to Oklahoma and help the Drummonds brand their cattle. My wife loves the Pioneer Woman and wants to go live on her ranch and rustle cattle and brand them. It is just, she wants to, my wife literally wants to ride her motorcycle from Georgia to Pawhuska, Oklahoma, and hang out with Ree Drummond and brand cattle with Ladd, her husband. She just thinks that would be the greatest thing ever. I don't know why. I can't get into my insurance policy won't let me. My wife, though, that's the thing she wants to do, and she just thinks it's the coolest thing. There are a lot of cattlemen out there, and the Biden administration, the regulators, the processors, the purchasers, they have screwed up the lives of cattlemen and ranchers across America. They pushed issues of herd size, and there's been a drought, and the cattlemen and ranchers of America have not been doing well. And interestingly enough, they're pretty free market because they believe in American beef. I buy American beef. I don't like imported beef. We have so many great ranchers and ranches in this country that I do business with. You know, I advertise for Omaha Steaks. I buy a lot from Snake River Farms, and they've got American beef, American Wagyu. In fact, I sent a thank you package to the finance guy at Jim Ellis who helped me buy my son's car today. Sent him a big box of American Wagyu from Snake River Farms as a thank you gift. I follow a number of them, a number of different ranches. Porter Road in Nashville. I've gotten a lot of stuff from Porter Road. They're fantastic. Allen Brothers as well. I like American beef. I refuse on principle. I know Japanese Wagyu is incredible. I know it's incredible. But I buy American beef. I want to buy American beef. I want to support American cattle and ranchers. I actually make sure that the beef that I'm buying is not imported because I want to support American cattlemen. They have had a tough time the last number of years with drought, with mismanagement issues from the USDA under the Biden administration, a lot of it going to essentially the Biden administration wanting them to cull their herds for global warming's sake. Did you even know this? Because the national media didn't report it. The Biden administration was pressuring ranchers and cowboys to reduce their herd numbers in order to minimize the effect of methane on the atmosphere. And here comes Donald Trump, who has never rustled a cow in his life, who eats his steak well done with ketchup. That's not an insult. It's true. I know because I do too, and that's how we bonded when we finally made peace with each other, was laughing about everyone getting so mad about us. Now, I will eat a medium well steak or a medium steak. I'll eat it medium. When I go to a nice steakhouse, I'll eat it medium. Typically, when I'm at home, my wife is a well-done steak eater because when she was a kid, her family would eat it like rare, almost cold in the middle, and she was disgusted by it. And so she didn't realize you could even get it where it was actually cooked. And so now I cook it for her, and I cook mine, and a little ketchup, and it's wonderful. I'm totally down with it. So is Donald Trump. Like literally, that's how he eats it, is well done with ketchup. There are not only a bunch of restaurateurs and chefs dying right now by me saying this. There are I'm wiping out the population of Oklahoma and Dodge City, Kansas, as they hear me horrified about this. I won't do it in public, I swear. You can invite me to your steak dinners in Dodge City, and I won't do that. Nonetheless, the cattlemen, the cowboys, the ranchers, they know better than the president, but the president is convinced he's done them a favor with the tariff. Interestingly enough, the National Cattlemen's Beef Association is out. Let me read you their statement. Cattlemen and women cannot stand behind President Trump while he undercuts the future of family farmers and ranchers by importing Argentinian beef. It is imperative that the president and Secretary Rollins let cattle markets work without interference. If the administration is truly an ally of America's cattle producers, we call on him to abandon this effort to manipulate markets and focus instead on completing the promised New World screwworm facility in Texas. Make additional investments that protect the domestic cattle herd from foreign animal diseases such as FMD and address regulatory burdens such as delisting of the gray wolf. and addressing the scourge of black vultures. There are real ways the president could help the ranchers in this country. He really could help the ranchers in this country by focusing on the screwworm. Do y'all know what the screwworm is? Have y'all heard about the screwworm? The screwworm is coming up through Mexico, and we've had a coordinated multinational campaign to stop the screwworm, but it has crossed Panama, and it's slowly making its way up, and we've now found it inside the United States. It is a fly that lays larvae in open wounds, including people. And the larvae are shaped like a screw, and they bury into the flesh and consume the flesh. And it's deeply painful. And when cows get it, they typically have to be culled from the herd when they get it. When people get it, they got to be hospitalized, and it is painful, painful, painful. And we're starting to find it. And the White House is committed to a massive eradication campaign, which we had to do after the Great Depression. They're committed to another one because it's been found in this country. And the Agriculture Department has not been able to get its ducks in a row to get it going. And it's costing money to Texas and Oklahoma and other states who are starting to find the screwworm, and they're having to spend state funds on what should be a federal initiative. Guys, the cattlemen and women of this country don't need tariffs. So you know what the attack is on the Cattlemen's Beef Association right now? Is they're all a bunch of foreigners. It's the foreigners. That's actually Brazilians and the Argentinians running that group. I actually know a number of people in the Georgia Cattlemen's Association who feel the same way, that they don't need the tariff. Most Americans buy American beef anyway. They didn't need the tariff. What they needed, though, was some federal help with herd sizing and getting rid of some regulations that are applied to ranchers and farmers. It blew my mind to learn that the Biden administration was pressuring ranchers to cull their herds, to limit sizes, to limit greenhouse gas emissions. And it's true. It actually happened. And as a result now, through some droughts, through manufacturing, processing equipment problems, and remember, if you're at a slaughterhouse, a lot of your equipment is imported, and you're now paying massive tariffs on the equipment that you got to use to slaughter the cows. All of those costs get trickled down. You know, the ranchers are the ones who make the least amount of money. The processors make a ton of money. You've got 3 or 4 major processors. So we're on in Dodge City, Kansas. And basically 75% of beef that is processed in this country comes from within 50 miles of Dodge City, Kansas. There are a handful of conglomerates that handle the slaughterhouses and then box it up and ship it off to the grocery stores. And it's the actual people who raise the cattle who make the least amount of money in it. And they're hardworking men and women who love the country and the free market, and they just want to compete because they think they have the best product. And by the way, just so you understand, American cattle actually is the best product. You can buy Wagyu beef if you want a distinctive beef, and it's very marbled. It slices like butter. But American beef is a gold standard on the planet. And the cattlemen and the ranchers know that, and they don't need the tariffs. But they do need some help. And it's Economic Central Planning 101 from socialist countries for the commissars in Washington to tell the cattlemen and the ranchers that the commissars in Washington know what's best for the cattlemen. And that's not true. The cattlemen who are there on the farms and the ranches, battling the elements, battling the droughts, battling the screwworms, dealing with their cows, keeping them fed, taking them to slaughter, they know what's best. We should trust the cowboys, not the politicians, when it comes to what's best for the beef industry in this country. Y'all, I have been waiting to tell you about Cove Pure. I'm so excited. So, I moved my radio show and podcast out of my house to a studio, and I'm in a big corporate building, and you don't really trust the water out of the pipes. Cove Pure is the fix. They've got clear wave technology. It removes 99.9% of contaminants, lead, PFAs, pharmaceuticals, you name it. I've got one in my office, and I finally have stopped buying bottles of water thanks to Cove Pure. There's no need to call a plumber or drill any holes. I was able to do it. You just plug it in on your countertop. You set the temperature you want on the touchscreen. It tastes like water. That is, it doesn't have a taste. It's fantastic. Take back control of your family's health and drink water the way it's meant to be. Go to covepure.com/Eric right now. Get $200 off while supplies last. That's covepure.com/ERICK. covepure.com/Eric. Get $200 off. covepure.com/Eric. Greetings. Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here. The phone number, 877-973-7425. Let's go to the phone. Spencer, you're going to be up next. Welcome to the show. How are you?
Good, Eric. Nice to talk to you again. How you doing?
Great. What's going on?
Well, so I want to talk about this ICE tracker thing that's been mentioned recently. I think this is just one more example, unfortunately, of the permission structure for violence and how Democrats are just not only giving the okay, but paving the roadway for people to get hurt or killed. And so my question to you is, if this thing is used to hurt or, God forbid, kill an actual ICE agent, can Democrats, or the ones that are behind this, that are putting their name to it, be charged as an accessory to that crime? I haven't really heard anybody talking about that.
Yeah, look, if it is, if you use it and you use it to target ICE agents, I think there could be some real liability issue there. And for those of you who don't know what's going on here now, Democrats are launching an online tracker of ICE activity. So people can go report where it is, where ICE agents are, particularly in California, so that people can target the ICE agents. And I think there is a liability issue there. Now, I got to tell you, my preference, Spencer, is that you overwhelm it with false reports. Overwhelm it with false reports. I honestly think that one way conservatives can step up and protect ICE agents is if they get this ICE tracker up and going, you just flood the zone and it makes it harder for people to show up and target the ICE agents. If they're everywhere, they're nowhere. But they're clearly hoping to direct violence at ICE agents. I don't think there's any doubt. And the rhetoric of the Democrats is becoming more and more shrill as they attempt to target ICE agents. I think violence is coming to ICE. We've already had attacks on ICE facilities. I think the Democrats are pushing us into dangerous territory here as they lose their mind over this, as they are convinced that Trump is Hitler and ICE agents are his brown shirts. And anything you and I can do to protect ICE agents, I think we should, including if that means overwhelming the trackers so they're showing up in places where there are no ICE agents. Now, let me tell you about Eden Pure, the Eden Pure Thunderstorm. You can get 3 of them. You can save $200. You can get them for less than $200. What you do is you go to EdenPureDeals.com. You put on the discount code, put in the discount code ERICK3, ERICK3. At EdenPureDeals.com. What is it? It is an air purifier. It traps dust, traps pollen, it traps pet dander. It kills 99.9% of bacteria and viruses that flow through the machine. It generates plasma, which wipes out 99.9% of bacteria and viruses. And then it generates ozone, and the ozone wipes out odors. And that's how I use it. I don't actually use it as an air purifier. I use it when there's a stinky odor in my house. I pull it out, I fire it up, walk away. A few minutes later, come back, and the odor is gone. The ozone can go where the odors are and wipe them out. I've used it in rental cars that people have smoked in. I've used it on my back porch when it's gotten musty or smoky smelling. You can plug it up with a USB cord. You can plug it up into the wall. You get 3 of them for less than $200. You save $200. Get them for upstairs, downstairs, your basement, your travel bag, your RV, wherever you need them. They're small. You can hold them in your hands. EdenPureDeals.com is the website. EdenPureDeals.com. Discount code is ERICK3, ERICK3 at EdenPureDeals.com. Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here. The phone number is 877-973-7425. Oh, my gosh. Sorry, a former governor listening out in Texas. I used the line that the president's ballroom is going to look like a French whorehouse, and he just texted me and says, for the record, I don't know what a French whorehouse looks like on the inside. Yes, Governor, that is fair. That's fair. So randomly, I was actually on Monday and Tuesday, I was supposed to be out playing golf, and I couldn't because of my wife. But I got a couple of emails from listeners asking about this golf thing at Lookout Mountain I was supposed to do. So I subscribe. The only magazine I read cover to cover multiple times is called The Golfer's Journal. I discovered it about 2 years ago. I'd never heard of it, and now I realize that I have several friends who have been longtime subscribers of it, and it's wonderful. It is a wonderful magazine. The photography is gorgeous. The stories are all captivating. I'm terrible at golf. I'm getting better. I'm getting lessons. Joined the in-town golf club in Atlanta. I've been taking lessons with my buddy Kyle Morris up in Cartersville, Georgia. But when you subscribe to the Golfer's Journal, you become a member of something called the Broken Tee Society, which is their group of subscribers, and they get access to very exclusive golf courses, and you can win lotteries to go play them. And I had won the lottery to go to Lookout Mountain. Of course, I've always wanted to play, had the opportunity, and then couldn't because my wife was in the hospital. I don't hold that against my wife, by the way. That's why I couldn't go. But some friends of mine, I got them in, and they were able to go, and they had a great time, stayed at the Airbnb that I paid for. They had a great time. But it's a very neat group of people. It's not all a bunch of I was very intimidated at first. It was all going to be a bunch of people with like scratch golfers. And I mean, at best, my handicap's like a 20. I'm a bad golfer. But it's great people. In fact, I'm wearing a Broken Tee Society pullover today. They have, it's just cool. If you're interested at all, if you text ENGAGE to 33777, I'll send you my referral code. Now, full disclosure, if you use my referral code and you get a subscription for yourself or a friend, they're going to send me golf balls with the Broken Tee Society logo on it. So we win-win, but it's a great group of people. It really is. I hit that age, y'all, where I'm like, I got to get interested in something. I need a hobby. And I just thought, you know what, being outside, hitting golf balls, it's maddening. But then you hit that perfect shot and you're like, I got to do this again. And then it becomes maddening again. And you hit a perfect shot and you're like, I got to keep trying. And so slowly but surely I'm getting better. I don't feel comfortable, though, playing in charitable events. I've been asked now to play in several charitable events. And I'm like, no, I am a terrible golfer. And I got to work on my language on the golf course because I'm a terrible golfer. I'm not comfortable, but I'm working on it. I'm taking some lessons at InTown and with Kyle, and we'll see at some point I'll do it. Now, we got to move on to other stuff, but just I got several people who asked me about it, and yeah, ENGAGE, text that word to 33777, and I'll send you my referral code back for Golfer's Journal if you want to subscribe. And if you got a family member who loves golf, it is a phenomenal gift. I've gifted it to probably close to a dozen different people, and every single one of them has loved it. It's an incredible magazine and a group of people. Now, we got to move on. We actually do, and I want to go back to the New York City situation. Eric Adams is going to endorse Andrew Cuomo for mayor of New York City. And I just keep telling myself I don't care about this story, but I keep coming back to it because so many of you care about the story. And so many people think New York is like the world's capital. Maybe because the UN is there, but not really. I actually like Chicago more than New York. No offense to those of you from New York. I like Chicago better than New York. I like Chicago because, one, I think Chicago and the architecture in Chicago is gorgeous. I love the steakhouses in Chicago, and I love the Cubs. And I can go to Wrigley Field, and Wrigley Field is my favorite ballpark in America. I love Chicago. And, you can walk around parts of Chicago. You're not going to get shot. The Miracle Mile area, they police that area for the tourists mostly. It has gotten bad under the present mayor and Beetlejuice, the last mayor. It wasn't great, but it's gotten It's gotten under control there. I like Chicago. I really do like Chicago. It is a beautiful city. New York is fine, and the Central Park area is great, and one of my favorite bookstores is in New York. The restaurant scene in New York is world famous and all that, but my preference is Chicago. That being said, Chicago has a socialist mayor whose popularity among Democrats right now is between 15 and 20%. And in New York, the great savior of the Democratic Party is Zoran Mamdani, and they had a debate last night. I want to play you this clip. This is pretty striking. Oh, hang on a second. I muted myself. There we go.
Okay. Mr. Mamdani.
We need to build more housing all across New York City. Today, New York City builds about 4 houses for 1,000 people. Jersey City's at 7. Tokyo is at about 10. We need to do this by streamlining the processes of private sector construction across the city, by ensuring we're building more around hubs of mass transit. And we also need to ensure that the public sector is building truly affordable housing. And what I mean by truly affordable is housing that is built with the median household income in mind, which is $70,000 for a family of 4. And that's why my administration will do exactly that, scaling up programs we already had in HPD, like senior affordable rental apartments, SARA, like ELA, extremely low-level affordability. These are the kinds of programs that will deliver a city that New Yorkers can actually afford.
There was reference to the 3 housing-related charter amendment questions. I know Mr. Cuomo is on the record as saying he favors them. We just heard Mr. Sliwa say that he's against them. Where do you stand on those?
I'm appreciative that those measures will be on the ballot and that New Yorkers will be able to cast their votes for them. I know that we desperately need to build more housing in this city, and I also know that the jobs we create in the building of that housing should be good jobs as well.
What a political answer. What is your opinion, Zoran?
Yes or no?
Come on.
Yes or no?
What is your opinion? Yes or no, Zoran?
True.
Don't be a politician here.
I got it. They're pointing out what I was about to, which is that you didn't answer the question.
No, I think on the stage you can see 2 people appealing for the Republican Party's votes. And myself.
Answer the question. Answer the question for once.
My question to you was, do you support the 3 ballot amendment questions?
I have not yet taken a position on those ballot amendment questions.
Oh, what a shot.
Now, for those of us in the rest of the world, we don't particularly care. In New York, however, they're about building affordable housing and the related construction needs and the like in New York City. And he's refused to stake out a position because, well, they've become controversial among the Democrats, and he wants to build his coalition. Eric Adams, of course, is trying to do what he can to support Andrew Cuomo, and they're bringing all sorts of pressure to bear on Curtis Sliwa to get him out of the race. Sliwa, in fact, was a radio show host in New York City as well on WABC, and he has quit and said he's not going back because the owner of the station has come out and urged him to get out of the race for Andrew Cuomo. I mentioned this yesterday, but I got to go back to this because it bugs me, and it bugs me as someone who ran campaigns. The strategy that Andrew Cuomo is deploying in New York is to force everybody else out of the race, so it's just him versus Mamdani. And there's actually no guarantee in the polling that he'll still win because actually the polling suggests that Mamdani is still going to win. But no one should have to get out of the race because what Andrew Cuomo is thinking, and it's the arrogance of Andrew Cuomo and the billionaire backers of Andrew Cuomo, that you are obligated to vote for Andrew Cuomo to stop Mamdani. You're not. Politicians need to earn your vote. Andrew Cuomo should make appeals to Republican voters if he wants their votes, instead of just forcing the Republican nominee out of the race or bullying him out of the race. Andrew Cuomo ran a terrible primary campaign against Mamdani and is arrogant enough to think that people will forgive him after he killed their grandmothers and sexually harassed their daughters, that they will vote for him as the alternative. I don't know that I want Mamdani to win, but I actually kind of want Andrew Cuomo to lose. I think the end of the Cuomo legacy in New York needs to come to an end. that he feels like, having gone through that scandal, having quit his office to avoid impeachment, having killed people's grandmothers and refused to apologize for it, whether it's Mamdani or not, I mean, Andrew Cuomo needs to be beaten. And the arrogance to think that Curtis Sliwa needs to get out of this race instead of Andrew Cuomo just appealing to his voters and earning their votes. Andrew Cuomo doesn't want to earn anyone's vote. He thinks you owe him your vote. You don't owe Andrew Cuomo jack. He killed your grandparents in New York. You don't owe him anything. And the arrogance of that man to think that somehow or another his opponent should get out of the race and endorse him to build a coalition to stop the other guy, as opposed to him actually doing the work to make the case that the opponent's voters should vote for him. This is the reason you're getting Mamdani, New York, because of Andrew Cuomo. You're getting Mamdani because of Andrew Cuomo's failures and arrogance and hubris and his refusal to recognize he has to earn your vote. You do not owe him a vote by virtue of his last name. I think Mamdani's going to win. I think Andrew Cuomo should lose. I think Andrew Cuomo deserves to lose. And I think the billionaires of New York City should have pushed Andrew Cuomo not to get into the race. But the billionaires of New York City were backing Andrew Cuomo. They didn't have their grandmothers get killed by his policies. It was the middle class. It was the working class. It was their grandparents. It was their grandparents that they couldn't go hold and hug in hospitals during COVID. The billionaires all moved to Florida, where Ron DeSantis took care of them and their families and made sure COVID wasn't the disaster that it was in New York. The billionaires were able to get on their private planes and go somewhere else. It's the middle class who couldn't. It's the middle class who couldn't hug their grandparents goodbye when they died. And that was because of Andrew Cuomo. And for the billionaires to now tell the people whose grandmothers died because of Andrew Cuomo's incompetence that they should suck it up and vote for him to stop the communists, what do you think is going to happen? How out to lunch are you people? Apparently very far out to lunch. So you can pack up and leave New York City. The communists are going to take it over. And the reason the communists are going to take it over has a lot to do with the policies of Andrew Cuomo and people venting and their rage. But you know what? It might come back. Look at San Francisco. San Francisco actually is rebounding. Crime actually is going down in San Francisco, and not just because they're not reporting it. It actually is going down. The city still has a massive amount of problems. It has a massive recovery ahead of it. But it's turning itself around after years of neglect and decay and opulence of the wealthy. New York might collapse and rebound too. What I do know, though, is that if Mamdani gets elected, New York is the heart of the American media enterprise, the American journalistic enterprise. And the reporters and the journalists of America will finally get the government they have wanted with Mamdani. And they will get it, and they will see what it's like. Many of them will become communist apologists. They will become like Walter Duranty for Zoran Mamdani. They will excuse everything he does, and they will blame someone else, but they will feel the effects of his policies, and they will be ravaged by his policies, and they will deserve it. I feel bad for the people who oppose Mamdani. But you know what? Andrew Cuomo is not entitled to those people's votes. He's owed nothing by them. And when Mamdani, not if, but at this point when he's elected, well, may God have mercy on the soul of New York City and its people, but also judgment's coming, and the communist, whether he believes it or not, is the one who will carry out the judgment and the punishment, because New York's going to get his policies good and hard. So one of the things you need to know this afternoon is that Vladimir Putin now says that the U.S. sanctions against Russia's oil companies are, quote unquote, an unfriendly act, and said there will be an overwhelming response by the Russians to it. I'm glad the U.S. is doing this, but this gets back to the president's larger point with the Europeans for a while. The Europeans have been spending more on Russian oil and natural gas than they have been sending to Ukraine. They've given Russia more money than Ukraine, and the Russians have been using that money on the war. And the United States, by putting these sanctions on Russia, is actually costing the Europeans money. And the Europeans will have to decide how much they want Russian oil and natural gas. You know, we can get them American natural gas. We don't have a pipeline across the Atlantic, but we have ships that you can load up with the gas. And we have enough ships that we can do almost like a Berlin airlift of natural gas to Europe. And the Ukrainians also have natural gas that they themselves can sell to the Europeans. But the Europeans have been addicted to Russian oil and natural gas in large part because of the policies imposed by left-wing activist groups, many of whom are funded by the Russians. They got Europe addicted to Russian natural gas. They could become addicted to American natural gas very easily. And the president of the United States would love for that to happen, and he has resisted imposing these sanctions. But now that the sanctions are imposed, I say it's time for us to flood the Europeans with our natural gas. Every American got to eat a can of beans and head to Europe, or just get it out of the ground and send it. Look, we got to do something. Putin says he's going to escalate now. Let's see how he escalates. And there are a lot of people say, what if he invades another country? Well, we're finding out he can't exactly win. His troops are exhausted. He's running out of money. His entire economy is now arranged to perpetuate this war. It's time to bring it to an end. And again, Donald Trump thought he could sit down with Putin, talk sense to him, and get a deal. But it's pretty clear Putin wants no deal. Putin wants war. So if it's war he wants, war he'll get, sanctions he'll get, and let's see if President Trump rethinking this can do something. Joe Biden was kind of toothless, and no one took him seriously. That's just the truth, and I know Democrats don't like to hear it, but everyone knew in the world stage that Joe Biden was kind of out of his mind and too tired and too old and possibly had dementia. We saw him wandering off with the G8 leaders. And everybody in the media who did damage control, that's not really what you saw. It turns out it actually was what we saw. Remember when he wandered off and Macron and what's her name from Italy had to go get him and turn him around? It turns out he really did wander off, according to them. Even Macron is now willing to admit, yeah, he was off. Well, Trump is very much on and very much wants to bring peace and end this war. And if it takes more war to get to an end of the war, he's willing to go that way. I appreciate the president rethinking this. His foreign policy has been quite grown up and better than anything we've gotten from Obama or Biden. Now, before I get out of here, let me tell you about Hillsdale College because they would love to offer you one of their classes for free. If you go to ericforhillsdale.com today, they have some recommended courses: Understanding Capitalism, The Federalist Papers, The Introduction to Aristotle's Ethics, How to Lead a Good Life. Let me just focus on that one real quick because it's 30-minute video lectures. There are 10 of them. And these lectures are with Hillsdale's great faculty. So you get 10 30-minute lectures from Hillsdale College. That winds up being about 6.5 hours. You do it at your own pace over time. You get a certificate of completion. You don't pay a penny. And you learn about ethics and you learn about Aristotle. And there's so much more that you can choose from with Hillsdale College. They have courses that run the gamut. If you click on, you can see a catalog tab. You get history, philosophy, religion, literature, politics, economics, fine arts, mathematics, natural sciences. You go to ericforhillsdale.com, ericforhillsdale.com. You sign up today. You don't pay a penny. You learn to take the ancient Christianity class. It's 11 lessons. And you do it at your own pace. Take American Citizenship with Victor Davis Hanson, ericforhillsdale.com.